Welcome to today's Explainer. Right now, we're looking at a scenario that pretty much every homeowner absolutely dreads: storm season. You know the drill, right? You've got the heavy rain, the totally saturated soil, and that looming, constant threat of the power just cutting out on you. Today, we're exploring a super comprehensive guide from Dr. Drain that tackles an absolutely crucial question: do you actually need a battery backup for your sump pump?
I mean, really picture this for a second. This storm is totally raging outside, rain is literally coming down in sheets, and boom, the power goes out. Is your basement safe? Losing electricity can instantly turn what was a totally manageable water issue into a fast-moving flood if that primary pump goes down. It's an incredibly high-stakes scenario.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the power outage threat. So, when the grid goes down, the water in the ground certainly isn't taking a break, right? To bridge that gap, the industry offers the battery backup sump pump system. Basically, it's a secondary setup whose entire job is to automatically kick in the second your primary power fails. It's like a safety net. But, the main question today really isn't what this technology does, it's whether it's actually necessary for your specific home, or if what you already have is doing the trick.
Which brings us right to Section 2, determining your risk profile.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real divide here. To figure this out, we really need to evaluate your home's unique history. Let's look at the difference between a must-have situation and a might-not-need situation. On the high-risk side of things, a backup absolutely makes sense if you're dealing with frequent storm outages, have a history of past flooding, or if you're relying on an older pump that's near ground level. But on the low-risk flip side, you might actually pass on it if you already have redundant pumping, a historically bone-dry basement, and power outages in your area are exceptionally rare.
But, well, actually, scratch that. There's a major caveat here we need to talk about. If you fall into that low-risk category, you aren't entirely off the hook. Unpredictable, storm-driven outages still happen to the best of grids. Choosing to skip the battery backup means you are inherently choosing to rely on a fast response. You're basically saying, I have a rock-solid plan if the power drops.
So, let's move on to Section 3, your pre-purchase checklist.
Now, if you're sitting in that high-risk bucket and you're leaning towards getting a backup, you need to properly evaluate what you've currently got. The source text gives us 5 absolutely key evaluation factors. First, you've got to assess your exact power outage frequency during severe weather. Second, look closely at your basement's history and how often that pump is actually running. Third, you need to evaluate the battery capacity, make sure it fits your specific needs. Fourth, consider alarm and phone notifications because you want to know the minute it kicks on. And fifth, you've got to verify the installation compatibility with your existing primary pump.
Okay, pause for a second because there is a massive warning from the source text we absolutely need to emphasize here. A backup is not a magical fix for an overloaded system. If the water coming in is extremely high because of, say, poor drainage design or bad grading around your house, a backup is just going to buy you a little extra time. It literally cannot replace proper drainage. Bottom line, it's a power solution, not a grading solution.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Universal Storm Season Prep.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Because regardless of whether you decide to purchase a backup or skip it entirely, everyone, and I mean everyone, must take physical preventative measures before those big storms arrive. The source outlines 3 really simple, actionable steps. Step 1, inspect your pit and intake for any debris. Step 2, physically confirm that those discharge lines are actually clear. And Step 3, test your equipment and your alarms. Do this before the weather turns bad. Now, let's circle back to the homeowners who looked at their risk profile earlier and decided against the battery backup. As we mentioned, you absolutely need a fast response contingency plan. The Dr. Drain Guide breaks this down into 3 specific elements. First, you must know exactly how you're going to monitor that sump when the power goes dark. Second, identify exactly who can respond during an outage, especially if you're stuck at work or out of town. And third, you must understand the exact time frame for potential flooding in your specific basement. Think about it. If the power drops at 2 a.m., do you have 2 hours before it floods, or do you literally have 20 minutes? You have to know that number.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from today's Explainer. Battery backups are a highly targeted, fantastic solution to a very common storm problem. But they're only really effective when they're matched to your home's actual real-world risk. The absolute safest approach, according to the source, is evaluating your outage likelihood, your basement's vulnerability, and your current system's performance before the weather forces you to make a panicked, last-minute decision. So I'm going to leave you with this final, crucial thought to reflect on as you evaluate your own home today. Storm season is coming. What is your contingency plan?